The Kayenta mine on the Navajo reservation produces 7.5 million tons of coal annually. The coal is transported to the Navajo Generating Station, or NGS, 78 miles away. With a generating capacity of 2,250 megawatts, it is the largest coal-fired power plant in the western U.S. By leasing the land beneath the Kayenta mine to Peabody Energy, the world's largest coal company, the Navajo Nation collects an annual receipt of $600,000. The Navajo Nation also recently purchased the Navajo mine in 2014, which fuels the Four Corners power plant, a massive 2,040 megawatt plant. Electricity generated from the two stations power homes in the Four Corners region and supplies power to the Central Arizona Project, a 336-mile aqueduct which drains the Colorado River to supply water across Arizona. Government officials confirm that coal will continue to occupy a large portion of the nation's economy going into the future.
The Navajo Nation's immense investments in coal has caused criticism. How will the nation's continued dependence on a bankrupting market help solve socioeconomic issues? The environmental organization Climate Justice Alliance argues that the Navajo Nation continues to perpetuate the reality of raising carbon dioxide levels, greater air pollution, and various health ailments. Coal burned at Navajo Generating Station generates nearly 6.5 million tons of carbon annually as fly ash and carbon dioxide. The Four Corners power plant is the largest emitter of nitrous oxide in the country, particles that cause long-term respiratory illnesses and have had considerable health effects on Navajo citizens. In 2012, the EPA demanded the plant retrofit their technology to reduce nitrous oxide emission or shut down. But can the Navajo Nation cut their dependency on the fossil fuel? In June 2015, the Navajo Hopi Land Commission announced a new renewable energy project, the Paragon-Bisti Solar Ranch. The Finnish venture would develop roughly 9 million solar PV panels across 10,000 acres and produce up to 2,100 megawatts of electricity at peak capacity. At first glance, the project seems like a viable path, nearly matching the electricity output of the Navajo Generating Station. However, a closer look raises concerns of the project's efficiency and economic realities.
Solar PV has a much lower capacity factor than coal-fired power plants, averaging an electricity output of 30% of its peak power. Coal power plants generally have a 60% capacity factor. For Paragon-Bisti, this means that on average, only 630 megawatts of electricity would be generated, not 2,100 megawatts. To completely replace electricity produced from NGS with solar power, the Paragon-Bisti Ranch would have to be twice the size of its current proposal. Electrical storage might become a concern if the ranch grew much larger, although at its proposed size, the grid could compensate for intermittencies in the power supply. Financially, the project would have to fulfill a strict set of parameters, including a development cost of roughly $1.60 per watt installed, a utility with an energy portfolio in need of renewable energies, and a market willing to purchase utility electricity for at least 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour.
Despite the concerns about the project, the Navajo Nation should still move forward with the Paragon-Bisti Solar Ranch, which they plan on doing. Arizona provides some of the highest insolation rates in the country, which makes it attractive for solar development. Most recently, the Agua Caliente Solar Project was brought online in the state's Yuma County in 2014. One of the largest PV installations in the world, Agua Caliente produces an average of 71 megawatts year-round, capable of 290 megawatts at its peak. Despite the project's $1.8 billion price tag, its electrical production proved economical enough to secure a 25-year contract with Pacific Gas and Electric for grid distribution. The success of this project suggests that large-scale PV installations in the Southwest can be economically viable. In September 2015, the Navajo Hopi Land Commission decided to move forward with pre-construction plans on one of the Paragon-Bisti sites. Site 1, a 1,321-acre plot, could generate up to 290 megawatts of peak power, the same as Agua Caliente. Starting on a small scale allows the Navajo Nation to get solar energy production off the ground without having to commit to a 2,100 megawatt project. The Commission is moving forward with a strategy to supplement coal with a small-scale solar site and allow revenues from solar power sold to the grid to make way for larger solar projects down the road. Arizona's prime location for solar PV and the ability for the nation to ease into a larger-scale solar project provides a model for other coal-dependent regions to begin making a switch to renewable energy. The Navajo Nation is only one region in the U.S. that struggles with an economic dependency on coal. Further, most other coal-rich areas lack the insulation levels required to make large-scale solar viable. West Virginia, a leading coal producer in the eastern U.S., has only 2/3 of Arizona's solar gain per area. In these cases, other renewables will have to bridge the gap. In West Virginia, for example, the Appalachian Mountains make wind power viable in the eastern portion of the state. The geographical diversity of different coal mining areas makes it difficult to generalize alternative energy solutions from one area to another. If renewables are going to eventually replace coal in electrical production, different strategies will have to be tailored to each location affected by the transition, based on the area's available resources. The Paragon Ranch's use of solar is a good example of this practice. Further, instead of seeking to immediately replace the existing coal infrastructure, the ranch would bring solar energy online in several phases. Other renewable projects can look to this model of supplementing coal while working through problems on a manageable scale. Eventually, enough electrical capacity may be available to replace coal plants when they become obsolete.